All right, we are here for the first official podcast of Beyond the Ring podcast. I am your host, Andrew. I am here with Jason.
What is up, guys?
Jimmy.
I have to be called Dragon, thank you.
Oh, you prefer, I'm sorry, Dragon.
Thank you.
And Dalton.
How's it going?
So, we are here. We're just going to be talking absolutely anything and everything professional wrestling, and I don't want to hear that we're not talking about TNA or anything else. We're going to talk about what's hot, and we're going to talk about what we are enjoying and what's going on good. We're not going to just talk about TNA or WWE or Ring of Honor just because it's a show, so we have to talk about it. We're only going to talk about what we want to, right, guys?
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun here.
That's what I'm saying. So we're going to get started. We just hit off of a hot Monday Night Raw last night, and when I was writing down things to talk about, one of the very first things that went through my mind as something we got to talk about is finally the Miz heel turn.
I honestly think that's his best role in the WWE.
I mean, you want to go on?
I was just going to say that he finally has a chance to turn around his failing career that he had right now.
I
think I'm done seeing the Miz with his talk show and being nice to people. I want to see the dark side. I want to see him excel.
Well, it's finally about to happen. I mean, think about this. He main evented WrestleMania. Not many people could say that. Only for him to what? Wasn't he in the pre-show next year?
Yeah, that kid jumped up and down the card so quickly because I believe it was 26 he was the opening match, 27 he was the main event, and then 28 he was the pre-show.
I mean, think about this. He meant so little that his father showed no emotion when his son was being beat right in front of him by Randy Orton.
That was funny. I forgot about that. That's how bad it was. I forgot about it.
They had to cut his father out of the video packages and then only show his mom.
That's why you got to get professional actors. Don't rely on the actual parents.
I mean, think about it this way. They brought in Cena's actual dad, and he got smacked by Edge.
That is true. I do remember that.
Edge went to his house, terrorized his dad, said it's Lita, yada, yada, yada.
And now we sit in the era of nothing like that will ever happen again. And we sit here basically watching the PG era fall down. I honestly don't like how WWE is being presented now at all.
Well, for me, I'm going to go back on the father thing and point out Jack Swagger also had a actor dad on his thing or something like that, didn't he? When he was showing all his trophies.
Yeah, when they had pictures of them competing and going fishing.
And all that kind of deal. But what Jason was saying is that I feel WWE was going on a good run for a few months. Like, they were putting some good matches on. I'm a huge fan of, I think we all are at this point, Dean Ambrose. The Authority going on. That sounded like a good storyline to me until, they just kind of kicked Daniel Bryan out of that whole thing.
But, so here's my thing. Everybody harps on the PG era, and part of my thinking is, it's the PG era, and they can say certain things, and they can do certain things. I don't think the quote-unquote PG era is the problem with professional wrestling nowadays, as everyone seems to be putting it on that. I feel like a lot of it is coming from inconsistent storytelling and just, these these just hot shots of things, and they're not investing in anybody. And it's not necessarily the era itself. It's just the way everything's being told and the way the product is being presented now.
I see it as management's problem, because the thing is, though, I honestly don't have a problem with the PG era. You know, for a little bit, yeah, because, you know, John Cena was shoved down our throats for years. When he was like the champ is here, his own rap, you know, they did that for money purposes because they drew a younger audience at that time. You know, if we all go back to the Attitude Era, you know, you see kids put up the middle finger like it was nothing. You know, it wasn't a big deal back then, but now it's more viewership and more censored now. WWE
would have never became the big company that it's becoming these past years if it just catered to that Attitude Era audience, because then they wouldn't have half the sponsors that they have right now, or wouldn't be they wouldn't be in connection with all the Be It Star, the Susan G. Komen, stuff like that really gets them out there.
Yeah, because, you know, back in the Attitude Era, they said whatever they wanted. I mean, if you really want Attitude Era style things, I mean, watch a bunch of indie shows. There's a ton of them out there that are like that. It's just the PG. I think this is what really makes WWE the big company and makes it its money. You know, all these ads, the commercials, the sponsorships. You know, they get a lot of they do get a lot of press. You know, they get a ton of press nowadays. I mean, WrestleMania week, TMZ is on them like a cheap suit. I'm just saying that just because I know they're a big paparazzi company. But everyone knows that wrestling is, in all honesty, wrestling, it can go into mainstream without a problem. Depends what's happening during that time.
And back to what Andrew said about not being able to finish the storyline, one I'm very disappointed in was when Kane and the Wyatt family. They kind of just dropped that. It looks like Kane's just going to go corporate, and they're going to cut that whole story. They could have made a big story about that and actually caught a lot of attention, but they kind of just dropped that.
I'm right there with you. I was absolutely shocked when Kane came back, and I'm like, okay, we're going to get something with the Wyatts, whether he's going to fight the Wyatts or he's going to join the Wyatts. And then he just kind of went off and joined the corporation. And I was like,
he walked out in a suit.
Yeah,
I really couldn't get over that. The moment sorry to interrupt there, but like the moment he walked out in a suit, I'm like, this is something new. And that's what we all need nowadays, is always something ever changing and something brand new. This is a change-up, considering Kane was always known as that big guy that was like blow fire and chokeslam people to hell.
Yeah,
I love the idea of corporate Kane, because he's been playing the same monster for the past 15 or so years, and it was finally time for him to evolve, and they chose to go with corporate Kane. And now Kane's been doing those political interviews, and he would probably be more marketable when it comes to politics with the current corporate Kane character that he has, rather than his competitors throwing out, oh, look at this guy, he wears a mask and can form fire from ring posts.
I have to say, that's actually, I want to play off that real quick, Dalton, at the same time, because like he is heavily into politics. I believe he's trying to run for like a seat somewhere, like he's trying to get somewhere political in his hometown. And it seems like he's a very political guy outside of wrestling. And, you know, and like you said, 15 years, he was the monster. You know, he debuted attacking The Undertaker. And so big. It was kind of like his thing, and now they're changing something up. And I wonder, the thing is, though, how are people going to react to him now? Because, you know, there's those hardcore fans that are going to be pretty mad that he's a corporate person. You know, they're going to complain up and down that he's not a monster anymore.
Me being one of them.
I'm okay with him not being a monster anymore. I think my biggest just annoyance is the inconsistency of like, okay, well the Wyatts like carried him off, and then like the commentators talked about it like every single time the Wyatts were on WWE TV. They always like mentioned, you know, we haven't seen Kane since the Wyatts took him and they carried him out of the arena. And then for him to come back and them to just completely drop it and like pretty much pretend like it never happened. That's what my problem is with it.
They sort of did a similar thing with the Wyatts and The Miz when they kidnapped him and he wrestled Bray that one pay-per-view and then it was dropped and over with. Seemed like they just really had no idea what they wanted to do with the Wyatts.
Yeah, because for a long time it felt like they were in a holding pattern until Kane could come back.
And I would honestly say that the Wyatts, I feel like I like the push that they're going towards, but the problem is that I feel like they put the Wyatts on too early because, you know, they just brought in the Shield. That's another three-man group. Why bring in another three-man group if you're going to have them switch spots at some point? You know, degrades the Shield and bump up the Wyatts. Now, there's going to be opinions and arguments on who's better and what and the whatnot, but at the same time, it's like, why are you pushing these guys, but you just make another group? I feel just like you just make another group at random.
Speaking of the Wyatts, is it me or is Luke Harper just blowing away Bray and Eric Rowan when it comes to the in-ring aspect of the matches?
Well, that's Brody Lee. I remember seeing him against, for God's sakes, Dean Ambrose back at CZW. Almost got kicked by John Moxley
for the title.
I almost got kicked in the face, okay? I remember sitting right there. It
just seems like they have a lot more faith in Luke than they do Eric Rowan. And he's already been in almost as many or possibly more matches than Bray has.
I see what you're saying, and I agree that in terms of maybe in-ring ability, I think in terms of in-ring storytelling, Bray Wyatt still has top-notch with the upside down and the crawling and the things he does. In terms of pure wrestling, in terms of wrestling ability, I've been most impressed with Harper so far. And I've said this since day one. Rowan is there because he's a big body that can that works well with this gimmick. His look works well with this gimmick that as soon as they're ready to not do a Wyatt family anymore, or something happens that they want to kick him out of the group, I see him ending up in like a Great Khali type of role where he really doesn't do anything. He just kind of is there and puts people over sometimes, and no one's really actually interested in anything he does.
Yeah, it's kind of like how he's just there because of his look. Like
it just seems
WWE,
like Bray and Luke they far surpass Eric Rowan, and he's just sort of there.
And it's just like he's just there because WWE prides himself on big guys. You know what I mean? You know, if you're a big, hunky wrestler at all, and you can pull off a look for what they want, they think you can be money for, they'll push you to no end. But it's just like sometimes you're just wondering why. But they need it for the Watt family because this is a good thing. Because, I mean, what was Bray Wyatt before that? I forget the name. Husky Harris. Yeah, he was Husky Harris. And, that's like how Kane went from monster to corporate. Husky went from, being somewhere in WWE to something nutty like that. And I got to say, it's pretty interesting.
Can I just jump back on the Kane thing real quick for just 1 second? I absolutely thought it was absolutely hilarious that Kane comes out in the suit, and like that moment, all over social media, I kept seeing all these posts about, here comes Citizen Kane, and I just thought that was so funny.
It was just such a bizarre way to see him, but like I said, it's something new, and I liked seeing him coming out in that suit with the hair. It's just something different.
Yeah.
And I'm always open-minded when it comes to wrestling because, you know, something new might come up. A lot of people might hate it at first, but in the end, it might become like one of the best ideas they come up with. You know, people are there's always going to be naysayers on everything the WWE does. If the WWE doesn't go back to the Attitude Era, everyone's going to, you know, complain that it's not Attitude Era or it's too PG or John Cena. John Cena's a common thread around here. But, you know, WWE has to turn things up. But the thing is, like how Andrew was saying, is that they're legit just inconsistent. Like, they just make a storyline, have it for one pay-per-view, don't like it, so they just drop it. It's over.
And I don't understand what his authority is as director of operations, because the very first week that he had this new job title when the authority was on vacation, he overruled Brad Maddox, but Vicky Guerrero was able to override Kane's match. So where exactly is Kane's authority?
And that's what they need to play off of, because, like, as soon as I saw the Brad Maddox match, I was like, really? Like, come on.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, Brad Maddox has been a good meme here and there.
All right, so since we've hit a quick, I don't want to say dead wave, but since we're there, let's kick it over to Dragon. He's going to do his weekly independent show update.
All right. I'm trying to look up. The thing is, I'm trying to look up Monster Factory results because Monster Factory had an indie show this weekend, the second annual Turkey Slam. But
go ahead.
What were you saying, Dalton? Because if you know it, you're welcome to say it, because I'm looking it up now. I've been trying to look up all week.
I was going to say, while you're looking that up, and speaking of indie, let's talk about the release of Chris Hero from WWE.
And that's another thing I was going to play off of. I actually, on the page later, after we get done this call, I'm going to post the video of him debuting, or, you know, coming back against Hurricane Helms in New Jersey. Let me find the actual match itself. I think he was in Rahway, New Jersey this weekend. He faced Hurricane Helms in a winning effort. And he had a huge, huge, huge welcome back. A lot of people cheered him on. Like, he popped. The minute he walked out, it was a huge, huge pop, I heard. And I watched the video, and it was a good match. This was a really good match. There we go. Yep, PWS. And it's what was the show? And he was facing off against good old Hurricane Helms. And I'm going to post the video up tonight, and he's actually set to go to PWG, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, to face off against Adam Cole for the heavyweight title, and he's going to return back to Dragon Gate. He's got a whole bunch of title shots this past couple months. He's going to face Drew Gulak at CZW's Cage of Death for the CZW World Heavyweight title. He's going to face Adam Cole for his heavyweight title, and he's going to face Johnny Gargano for the Dragon Gate Freedom title that Gargano has held for over a year now. How long has he held that title? He's held it for a long time. But I'm going to shoot off next to the Ring of Honor. You know, one of the other top indie shows that a lot of people watch is Ring of Honor. They just had another show. I think it was called, they presented Pursuit. It was a 2-night event, and the first night, the main event was Adam Cole taking on Jimmy Jacobs. Adam Cole, of course, won. He defeated Jimmy Jacobs. And the television champion, Matt Taven, defeats Zach Gowen, everyone's favorite one-legged wrestler. And it was a very good night. And then the next night, they had the main event be the tag team title match, with the Red Dragon, Bobby Fish and Kylie O'Reilly, defeated CNC Wrestling, which is Caprice Colvin and Cedric Alexander. And I can go on and on because there's a ton of indie shows that go on every weekend. It's just a matter of what ones people want to hear. Like Dragon Gate had a Fearless 2013 night on this weekend, the 16th, and they opened the United Gate title match. The Bravado brothers, Harlem Bravado and Lancet Bravado, defeat the Young Bucks to win the new titles. It's a tag titles. And then I'd also like to point out, has anyone heard about what happened to Chikara? Anyone?
No.
No? They haven't been doing shows lately. I heard that I've been looking it up, but apparently they had a very weird ending when some people like in security like outfits invaded the ring area, attacked the wrestlers, and sent the people on their way. Like kicked them out essentially, and they canceled all their tour dates from then. So that's kind of like weird because they've been in limbo. It seems like. I don't know too much on the situation. I don't know if it's a management type of situation or anything. But they're not currently have any dates going on. But real quick, back to the Monster Factory, which is kind of, I gotta say, it's kind of my local favorite one besides CZW. I don't know what happened. All I know is that they posted a little part of the site where there might be a new heavyweight champion because it might be vacated, and I believe the former champion was Tommy Macklin, but I want to know why because I can't get to the results and what happened exactly because I know it was the Turkey Slam was Tommy Macklin, Team Flex with Mike Spanish, Shaheem Harper, Cliff Compton, and QT Marshall against Mark Cruz, Greg Reed, and two mystery partners. And I really would want to know what happened.
Very interesting. We will have to be on the lookout for those results, and you'll have to post it up on our Facebook page once you have those results, so that way the world can find out why the title might be vacated.
Yeah, and I'm actually kind of interested because the Monster Factory, actually, I gotta say, is pretty interesting to watch. Also, heads up, coming, when are they teaming up? Good old Cliff Compton and Colt Cabana. They're going to be teaming up for the first time ever at the Monster Factory, Saturday, December 14th. That's a week after my birthday. And
very nice.
That is really all I got for indies right now. If you guys know anything, just, tell it right now because, I can't get all indie shows nowadays. And
no, that's great. You throw in the information that you want to talk about within your little brief segment there. No, it's perfect. What I want to do now is I do want to kick it over to another one of our segments. I do want to kick it over to get Dalton's top 5 of the week. His top 5 wrestlers / managers / personalities of the week, because I feel like one of them is going to be a topic that I want to cover next, and I would assume that we would all want to cover this topic. So the pressure's not on. So let's find out who Dalton has chosen for his top 5 of the week.
Now the pressure is really on. And this top 5 is going to show that I'm not being biased because there are 2 wrestlers who I don't really care for who happen to make it just because of what they've been able to do this week. Number 5, I have Ryback for having a competitive match with the number 1 contender, Big Show, and being able to give up a big moment like lifting him up off of the mat and hitting a shell shock when he wasn't even capable of doing that to Tensai. So I was pretty surprised when he was actually able to hit the move. Number 4 is Dolph Ziggler. I said he won an entertaining match against Sandow. And I can't remember the last time Dolph has won a meaningful match. And he also gets some extra points for doing the Jeff Jarrett strut and guitar shot.
Yeah.
3 is The Miz for turning heel, which he's better as, and finally having a chance to turn around his career, like I said before. he was kind of floundering around when it came to being a face. They had him aligned with Ric Flair, and that really went nowhere, which kind of goes hand in hand with the inconsistent booking. But now he's finally able to get back on track as a heel, which he's best at. Maybe even bring back Maurice as his valet. They're together for real, and who wouldn't hate a cocky guy who has a gorgeous blonde next to him? Number 2 is Big E, because he's been getting a pretty solid push since his face turn. And he finally took the title off of a pretty bland champion. Curtis Axel was all right to begin with, but I think he was kind of a failed experiment, and the fact that he couldn't get over even though he was aligned with Paul Heyman was kind of a bad sign. So I'm glad they got the title off Curtis and put it on Big E. There seemed to be a pretty big reaction when he got the pinfall after the big ending. Hopefully he doesn't fall victim to the Intercontinental title curse, which means that the mid-card title seems to end up having that champion jobbing out to anybody who's anybody when it comes to main eventers. And number 1, like I said, this shows that I'm not biased. I'm going to have to use last week's TNA because we're obviously not going to be able to review this week's TNA. But last week, Mr. Anderson is number 1 due to his involvement in Aces and Eights and him being the person that could potentially come back and end the entire faction, which I think has been going on for a pretty long time, and I think it's about that time that it ended. I was a little confused when Garrett and Nux first looked as though they were quitting the group because I felt it was time, and then they turned around and said that they weren't, which made me wonder where they could possibly go with Aces and Eights. But it all made sense once they brought back Anderson. So, like I said, Anderson gets the number 1 spot because he's part of I'd say the second biggest angle in TNA, and he was featured pretty heavily, even kind of overshadowing the main event between Austin Aries and Kurt Angle, because Impact ended with that pile driver to Garrett Bischoff by Anderson. So I'm curious to see if he'll finally be the one to put the final nail in the coffin for Aces and Eights.
Very nice top 5 from Dalton, and he did cover the person that that I wanted to talk about next. He was actually, I believe he was your number 2, Big E Langston, finally getting the win.
And I'm very proud of him. I'm not going to lie. This guy is hilarious on Twitter. I don't know if you guys have a Twitter, if you follow him, or if you just see the pictures, but he is hilarious.
Yeah, that's one of the things that makes him likable, is he's not generic big guy wrestler number 3,000. He has an actual personality, one that will hopefully let him show more now that he's going to be featured now as Intercontinental Champion.
Here,
I'm actually happy because I at first thought he was going to be the next Ryback, and he was kind of just going to be putting the random stories and not per se mid-card, but just be thrown out there for random segments. And I'm happy he was actually gave an opportunity, and hopefully he'll be able to do something with it.
Here, guys,
if anybody doubts the personality of Big E, just look up a video from WrestleMania 29 Fan Access where a fan gives him a brony that's designed after him, and he plays around with it.
All right. Well, I was going to say my favorite segment with him on Twitter. He posted a picture of a Bobby Lashley doll, and he's like, when your fans give you a doll that looks like you, even though it's a Bobby Lashley doll. It's like an action figure. Bobby Lashley repaint it to look like him.
That's great, and I'm glad. I mean, I don't know if anybody else remember this or picked up on this. I'm glad that we finally got this advertised match, because I feel like there's been like 3 or 4 straight times, like straight weeks in a row, where they're like, oh, Big E is going to be fighting Curtis Axel for the Intercontinental Championship, and then like on that show, it just never happens.
It happened with Dean Ambrose. He's facing for the United States. But I'll be right back, guys. I have to do a call just off my lunch. I'll be right back. I'm not going to exit the call unless you guys are done, but I will be right back.
All right. Dragon leaving us for a second to take care of some business. But like I said, I'm glad that we finally got this match.
And as much as I give Curtis Axel a bad time for being a bland character, he is a decent wrestler, so they had a pretty good match last night. It wasn't like it was a dud and Big E was just in it to take the title off of him. It was a pretty decent back-and-forth match until the very end.
No, I completely agree. I honestly really enjoyed the match. So I guess, unless Jason has anything else to say about this, I guess we can move on to our my next bullet point.
Yep, no, I'm ready for the next one.
Okay. I know my next bullet point, and like I said, we're not going to designate this to just being talking about certain parts of wrestling. We're going to talk about what we're enjoying or not enjoying. We're going to talk about things that stick out to us. And one thing that really sticks out to me is how TNA took this angle from, I mean, like, look at it. They pretty much took the angle from the WWE, the Vince McMahon and CM Punk storyline, pretty much took it, tried to make it their own, and for a while it was not really working for me, but right now I feel like it's really working for me. They're doing the angle, but they're doing it in a right way, as in AJ Styles has won the championship. He's like, screw you, I'm leaving the company, just like CM Punk did. But instead of, like, doing this whole, oh, well, okay, like, we're going to do this one-day tournament, and then we're going to, like, just do a storyline where we re-sign to CM Punk 8 days later anyway, so he's just going to come back. It's like, no, I feel like they're doing this the way WWE should have, and that was
they're doing it the right way.
Yeah, have him go, do exactly what he said he was going to do. Don't be on WWE TV for a couple weeks. Have him go off. Have him defend the WWE Championship at these various independent events, while at the same time doing that tournament to crown this new champion.
Yeah, and he's already defended the title over in Mexico, and they've listed a bunch of different dates that he's going to be defending his title, and it's just what WWE should have done. But whenever WWE panics even the slightest, they hit that panic button and they rush through something, which is why we got Punk the next week.
Honestly, I don't follow TNA that much, but with what you guys are saying, I do agree with how I think they should just let him go. I think if WWE would have done that with Punk, the fans might have reacted better to it than just having him come back just a few days later. So it seems at least TNA knows what they're doing.
Yeah, and they're clearly setting up the same thing. I mean, they're doing a championship, title tournament to crown this new champion, while AJ Styles is off defending the championship in various other places. And they're clearly going to do the same thing, where the person who wins the tournament and becomes the new TNA champion is then going to have AJ Styles come back and do this champion versus champion, who's the true champion type of match, like they did with John Cena, CM Punk. But I like that they're doing one match from the tournament every week, so that way it's like a slow build and everything, so AJ Styles can go out, defend the championship, and they don't have to do that champion match for like 3 weeks. For like 3 months.
Yeah, it's going to give it actually some sort of. It'll be able to actually have a promo video. They'll be able to actually work with something and build it up to something.
So, I mean, that's my stick. I absolutely love that they're doing this, and it's kind of like every time I see AJ Styles, tweet out about defending the championship in some other place, it just, really makes me kind of sit there and I'm like, that's the way it should have happened.
And I'm going to predict that it's going to be, with the way things have been looking, it's going to be Kurt Angle and Robert Roode in the finals. And then Kurt Angle is going to become that TNA champion to face AJ Styles.
And that would make sense. All right. Well, since we're off of that and we're once again at a breaking point, we're going to go into my segment, which is the prospect report. So when we do the prospect report, I'm going to be looking at people that are specifically in NXT, and I'm going to be talking about various things that I think they could do differently or that they're doing right or things that might be interesting, whether people agree with me or not. So we're going to get started here on the prospect report. The very first thing I want to cover on the prospect report this week is Xavier Woods making his full WWE Raw debut. And I kind of knew that this was coming. Well, I thought this was coming once they did that whole petition to get Big Show his job back, and they kept mentioning Xavier Woods started it and that he's a guy down in NXT. And I noticed that he hasn't been on NXT TV for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. So I kind of got that feeling that they were going to bring him up. He officially debuted. They put him in a tag team with R-Truth. I don't know if that tag team is going to last or if it was just that's how they were going to bring him in. I thought it was an excellent way to bring him in and, keep the ball rolling with this kid, keep him moving, keep the fans interested in him. It was, I want to say, almost refreshing that we had a superstar debut in a different way rather than like this weeks and weeks and weeks of build-up with these promos like they did with the Wyatt family, and then they did Los Matadores right after that. And it was like a non-stop thing. I like the way he debuted. And the other point that I want to bring up here in my prospect report, which I've mentioned to a few of my friends before, Tyler Breeze. Tyler Breeze is gorgeous. That's all I can say. He is the man down in NXT. At first, when I heard about the gimmick, I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. This might be really, really crappy. But no, I couldn't have been more wrong. The second I saw him wrestle, the way he moves in the ring, the moves he does, the way they do his entrance with him on the FaceTime, on his phone, and then it's projected on the screen behind him, it is absolutely great. It's great. I think it's crazy hilarious how the fans have gotten behind him and chant like Breeze is gorgeous, and sometimes they chant like we want Breeze, and like even when he was in the match for 1 second, threw one punch and then tagged out, they started chanting that is awesome. These fans are really behind him. And I know I said this to a few people, if you don't know what to do with them, I know another guy you don't really know what to do with. That man is Fandango. And I am saying put Tyler Breeze and Fandango in a tag team, and I think it would be tag team gold and magic. These guys could produce hilarious backstage segments, and they would be great in the ring together. I think that their gimmicks complement each other amazingly, and I just think it would be great. So I'm just saying, if you think, if you're ready to bring this guy up and you don't know what to do with him, put him with Fandango, because you don't know what to do with Fandango either. They would be a great tag team. And that's the end of this week's prospect.
I am going to jump in there. Sorry.
Okay.
Dragon's back.
I've never even thought of that tag team, but it would make sense because I could see some kind of like romance chemistry where they're telling each other how good they look, while Summer Rae is standing behind them looking upset because no one's giving her attention.
Yeah, that was actually, I was going to bring up a point and say, and ask you a question about that, Kibbles. Would you, if they tag team, would you think they would drop Summer Rae or kind of almost feud them out like Dalton was saying? Like maybe no attention and she breaks up with Fandango?
I would say keep all three of them together for a little bit of time and then she can
I don't think
split
it
off.
would be good to break them apart. I just mean that it would be like a comedy thing where they pay
They're
more
more
attention
into
to each other, but Summer Rae's
like,
still
I
sticking
gotta
with them.
say, a good narcissistic gimmick could really work for those guys. Because, you know, Tyler Breeze, all he's obsessed about is taking selfies, for God's sake. And Fandango is very, I gotta say, I'm kind of mad. He had his huge thing earlier this year, you know, everyone doing the Fandango dance, doing all the thing, you know, Fandangoing. And then
I'm a big fan of Fandango, and I'm kind of upset because it seems like ever since he had that concussion and came back, they don't know what to do with him. Before he left,
he beat Chris Jericho at WrestleMania, for God's sakes. Chris
yeah,
Jericho put him over.
Before he left, he looked like he was set to take that Intercontinental title, which is when Curtis was inserted. But due to the concussion, who knows where he would be right now if he wasn't out for those few weeks.
Honestly, I think they should maybe start a Dolph Ziggler and Fandango feud, because honestly, it looks like both of them have nothing to do in the WWE right now. Just an option, maybe.
And I kind of can't wait to see what time has to go. Because have you guys heard the rumors? I'm going to try to drop off of Fandango for a second because I'm kind of mad about this. If this is true, did you hear about the rumors about Daniel Bryan? About why he's down at where he's positioned at? Anyone?
I heard it had something to do with bad buy rates and ratings, and they're trying to blame him for it.
Yeah, exactly.
They've done the same with CM Punk, and I still don't believe that. I think people are going to buy an underdog story more than, like Daniel and Punk or yeah.
You know what gets me is that I was thinking about it. I'm thinking, WWE, you know why there's not many buy rates? Because they have a pay-per-view, it seems like this time of year, every other week. Every 3-4 weeks, they get it, every 4 weeks, but it feels like there's more than one pay-per-view a month sometimes, and they don't have enough time to tell the story. But at the same time, the reason why WWE isn't, it seems like always rubs me off as they're huge on big guys, and they cut down their pay-per-views. I believe they have 14 pay-per-views.
They have too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, they at least cut down 2. Make it a monthly pay-per-view. Then you'll probably see a lot more buy rates because the only time you see people buy pay-per-views is when when they're actually going to watch major pay-per-views, once a month. A lot of people probably bought SummerSlam. Everyone buys tons of WrestleMania. Buy rates in WrestleMania go through the roof. But because Daniel Bryan main evented too, and the buy rates weren't what they wanted, it's automatically he's to blame. How about, take down at least a couple pay-per-views? Come on, kids. They feel like I just feel like they're overthrowing the pay-per-view part. I remember, didn't TNA cut down their pay-per-views in half, didn't they?
Oh, more than half. They only do 4 a year now.
And they have special nights, don't they?
Yeah, they have the right idea. They have a perfect amount of time to build up storylines because they have those pay-per-views that are featured on live TV, which aren't as big as the pay-per-views that you order, but
which
with
is
the
funny
pay-per-views
because
that they order, they have time to really build things.
Which is funny because they have all that time, and you'll see them build their main event, but then I feel like aside from the main event, they still fall into that same WWE category, and I feel like WWE should be saying, if our buy rates are low, then it's not Daniel Bryan. It is something that we are doing wrong, because I remember where it was when you were going into the final Raw before a pay-per-view, when I was younger, you go into the final Raw of a pay-per-view and you knew every single match. You knew by heart every single match that was going to be on that pay-per-view. Okay, maybe one got made that night, so you knew every match except for one. But, you knew the matches that were going to be on the pay-per-view. You were excited for them. And now it feels like WWE is just kind of chucking these matches at you last minute, and it's like, well, you're not hyping me for this pay-per-view for me to, you're not making me want to buy it when, like, it's 2 weeks out and I only know 2 matches that are on the card, and it's the 2 championship matches. And then, and then like the 6 days beforehand, you throw 6 other matches at me, and I feel like it's all just rushed and last minute.
Here, guys, sorry to break up this conversation, but I'm actually probably just going to go because I'm starting to get a little busy right now. But,
okay.
I've been talking with you guys for like about close to 50 minutes here. So I'd just like to get my last word in. Thank you guys for showing this podcast. It's going to be a lot of fun doing this every week. And my last words is support indie wrestling. Thank you, and have a good day, everybody.
You too, Dragon.
All right, bye-bye.
So support indie wrestling.
All right.
It's something everybody should do.
Oh, what were we talking about? Oh, Survivor Series is a perfect example of them not hyping up a pay-per-view.
Yeah, I only knew of 3 matches before Raw, and I think they only added 3 more. I think it seems like a little lackluster on the card side, but maybe they plan on having the elimination match take up a good amount of time.
Hopefully. I mean, I haven't seen a reason to get Survivor Series except for the elimination match. Honestly, there's nothing that excites me.
Which, holy crap, can I talk about, because I know it's on everybody's mind. Seriously, that elimination match, really? Like, that's the elimination match you're going to do. And then you're going to give away that 12-man tag team match free on Raw and not have that be your elimination match for Survivor Series. Like, really?
Yeah, that made no sense whatsoever. That could have been a good 45-minute or so pay-per-view match that I'm sure everyone would have been able to get into.
I just had a big problem with that. I was like, when they showed it, I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean that's a match that's worth buying and free match. I don't understand what WWE's really trying to do.
Survivor Series is about buying the traditional Survivor Series tag matches, and that would have been the perfect one to promote. I mean, it has all the hottest acts in WWE all thrown together.
Doesn't make sense to me.
I'm certainly not going to watch Survivor Series for Alberto Del Rio versus John Cena or Randy Orton versus The Big Show. So the tag elimination matches are really what I was looking forward to.
Yeah. Well, while we're on the subject, let's move to our predictions. Because what I do want to do is have all of us here at Beyond the Ring podcast give our predictions for every upcoming for the upcoming pay-per-views, and we'll see just how many of these predictions we can get right, and maybe we'll crown ourselves a predictions champion and see how long that champion can hold his crown. So let's talk about the match. Let's first talk about the match that just got added on Monday Night Raw because of the heel turn. It's going to be on the kickoff show. It is Kofi Kingston versus The Miz. So, Jason, who are you picking for that match?
It's got to be The Miz. The Miz is what's hot now, and he needs a push. I think, no doubt, he's gonna win this match. He's probably gonna show his evil side, to say, but he's gonna win. He might take it out of the ring a few times just to show his heel turn and some of that kind of stuff. But yeah, The Miz is my pick for that match. Oh,
okay. So we got one for The Miz here. Who are you picking to win this match here, Dalton?
I'm going to have to go with The Miz, too, just because, like I said before, after the failed babyface push, he really needs a win to start his heel turn and really push it all. Even though a win against Kofi Kingston these days hardly means anything, but I'm sure that Kofi and Miz will be able to put together a decent match, but when it comes to who has more coming to them in the future, when it comes to Kofi, I don't really see him rising up any levels. He's been stuck in the same limbo for years, but Miz as a heel, I can see him rising up the card again to be a decent, not main eventer, but upper mid-carder, so I think he should start his wins with a win against Kofi Kingston.
And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick The Miz as well. Of course, for basically all the reasons stated by you guys already. I believe that The Miz, just turned heel. He's going to start off that run with a small push. I personally see it going towards Big E in the Intercontinental Championship, with Miz newly turning heel, go after the mid-card championship after against Big E Langston. But that's not the point of this segment. I'm choosing The Miz. So we're going to go to the next match that's listed on WWE.com. I'm literally looking at these right now because I don't even know all the matches. We've got our 7-on-7 traditional elimination tag team match. I'm talking about the Total Divas versus the WWE Divas. And I'm going to start off this time with Dalton. Dalton, who are you going with in this match? What team?
I hate to say it, but I have a feeling that Total Divas are going to win just to promote the show. Even though the right choice to make would be the WWE Divas. I think that WWE are more worried about promoting their show, so I think that the Total Divas are going to get the win with Brie Bella probably being one of the sole survivors, just because she seems to be getting that push.
All right. Jason.
Well, let me ask you a question. Natalina is on Total Divas, right?
Yes.
Then I'm going to be totally biased, and I'm going to say Total Divas just because I think Natalina is the only WWE diva that has any talent. So.
Whoa!
Total Divas.
Throwing it out there. I don't think that, but whew. And I am actually going to go against you guys on this one. I'm going to say the WWE Divas is going to win. And if they do have just one person as a sole survivor, because sometimes there's more than one person who makes it, if they only have one sole survivor, I am picking the Divas champion, AJ Lee.
Can we talk about something involving AJ for a second?
Oh, go right ahead.
The segment with Vicky Guerrero this night on Raw was kind of low because there have been the reports that AJ Lee fainted because she was dehydrated in the middle of one of her matches, and then they had AJ face Vicky Guerrero, who was trying to get out of the match by feigning being dehydrated. So I think it was a joke to the people backstage, but it was kind of low to do something like that.
Yeah.
I honestly wish... Oh, you go.
No, go right ahead.
All right, well, I wish they would have honestly pushed a little bit on this rivalry a lot earlier with Dolph Ziggler and how AJ and how that whole thing went down. I wish they would have pushed that rivalry a lot earlier, but I do think that might have been a little bit of a low blow, but I think it would have been right if they would have kept the rivalry.
I thought that segment went way too long. I didn't like the fainting and all that. I mean, I'll be honest. I did like that one point where Vicky tried to get out of the ring. Tamina was in the way. And then when she was walking up, AJ kind of like skipped up behind her, and she had no idea. I really liked that portion, but the whole rest of the whole segment went way too long for them not actually doing anything.
And Vicky trying to get out of the match kind of reminded me of Eddie when he used to use those cheap tricks to try to avoid a match.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to the next match here on our predictions. It is CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, Team Indie Stars, versus Eric Rowan and Luke Harper, the Wyatt family. I'll take the first shot this time. This is a really hard match for me because I feel like the Wyatts are getting a push. I feel like Daniel Bryan and CM Punk are both very high up there. I'm going to have to go CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. But let me tell you why. I don't think this match ends cleanly. I think CM Punk and Daniel Bryan will pick up the win due to a Shield distraction or a Shield interference. I feel like they're going in the direction they've been kind of like slowly showing it a little bit the last 2 weeks. I feel like they want to go Shield versus the Wyatt family. I'm in favor of it, and I feel like it'll start at Survivor Series with the Shield costing them this match. So I'm going to go CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. Jason.
This also is probably honestly the hardest match on the card to decide, but I'm gonna go with CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. But the reason I think they're gonna win is because I think Bray Wyatt is gonna do something. I honestly think CM Punk and Daniel Bryan might take most of the match and dominate most of it, and then Bray Wyatt is gonna get them disqualified and have CM Punk and Daniel Bryan win.
All right, Dalton.
I'm going to have to go against you two and say that the Wyatt family will win, just because it seems like ever since that initial beatdown that they gave CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, that CM Punk and Daniel have been getting the best of the Wyatts each time that they encounter each other. So I think that they're going to get the win this Sunday to possibly keep the angle going, or maybe just get the Wyatts the win that they need against Punk or Daniel.
No, it completely makes sense, and I think all three of us agree that out of all the matches on the card, that this is the hardest one to be able to predict a winner for.
Yeah.
I'd have to say so, because each of these four people could use a win.
So let's go to our World Heavyweight Championship match. We've got the World Heavyweight Champion, John Cena, versus the former World Champion, Alberto Del Rio. I'll go first again. This is another hard one for me. I feel like it's going to be John Cena, and I feel like I'm an idiot if I don't pick John Cena in this match. But then there's this other part of me that's like really thinking like it could be Alberto Del Rio, that Alberto Del Rio takes the championship back from him so they could have one final blowout match at TLC. And I don't know if they can continue and have one final match at TLC if John Cena beats Del Rio again here. Although for all I know, the World Championship gets defended in a multi-man match, and Del Rio does get another shot because he's in that. I'm going to take a real risk here, and I'm going to go Del Rio. So let me pass it over to Jason.
In this match, this is, like you said, this is one of the harder matches to choose because it could go longer in a feud and it could not. I honestly think Cena's going to win this, and the only reason why is if the WWE is looking for what is best for business, this rivalry is not. I don't think the fans enjoy this rivalry at all. I don't think anybody wants anything to do with this match. I think this match is going to be thrown under the carpet. I think Cena's going to win it and the rivalry. That's about it.
All right, Dalton.
I'm going to have to go with Cena on this match, too, just because Alberto Del Rio just needs to get away from the title picture. So I wouldn't choose him to win just because I don't want him in this position. And although I could see them making an argument for him to win since Cena has been getting the best of him each week, that's Cena's thing. And he's going to get the best of the wrestler, and he's going to win when they face each other. So I think that I'm going to have to go with Cena just because it's Alberto's time to step away from the title picture. John Cena is going to get the ratings for SmackDown, not as much as they need because SmackDown is always going to be Cena's The B show, but he's going to improve their ratings, and then they can find a different competitor for him to feud with.
Nice. Okay. I'm probably incredibly crazy to be betting against or picking against Cena in pretty much any match. But that's beside the point. The next match that's up for prediction is the traditional Survivor Series match. It is Cody Rhodes, Goldust, the Usos, and a returning Rey Mysterio versus the Real Americans and the Shield. Jason, you are up.
I honestly, I think honestly a lot of these matches aren't going to be easy to predict, but I'm going to have to go with the tag team champions, Usos and Mysterio, just because Mysterio's on his comeback return, and I honestly think if they want him to come back as the old Rey Mysterio and have him kind of swerve maybe off of the tag team titles and maybe become a solo act again, I think he'll be the last person on that team to survive and probably pin one of the Real Americans. So I'm going to have to go with them.
All right, Dalton.
This one's a tough one, too, because the Shield could really use a win because the Rhodes brothers, who seem to be doing some pretty good work. Goldust doing probably the best work of his career since he left the first time. He seems to be doing this like he just started and doesn't have any ring rust whatsoever. So they seem like they're going to continue pushing the Rhodes brothers. The Usos are another team that they really seem to be getting behind. And Rey Mysterio, although I'm not a big fan, I could see the appeal to him. But on the other side, the Shield, like I said, they could really use a win. And the Real Americans, I'm always a fan of the Real Americans and Zeb Coulter. But when it comes to winning, I'm going to have to say that it'll be the Rhodes, the Usos, and Rey, with Cody and Goldust being the sole survivors.
Yeah, interesting. I was thinking the same thing. I was almost like, I was kind of like, okay, like I'm gonna pick the Real Americans in the Shield until they were like, as they were running down the card, and then they're like mystery partner. And I'm like, fuck, nah, come on, like you want to give away the ending, like mystery partner. Obviously, the team with the mystery partner is probably gonna win. Because originally I was looking at it like, okay, I see it as, you know, a member of the Shield being a sole survivor so they can talk it up. Because, I mean, they stopped it, but for a week or two there was kind of like a Dean Ambrose knocking Reigns and Rollins for, you know, not being champions anymore and that he was the only champion. So I was like, okay, you know, like a member of the Shield wins so that way, you know, if Ambrose tries to knock them, they bring that up. Or if Ambrose is the sole survivor, then, you know, he brings it up that he's also the sole survivor. But looking at the teams, I'm going to go ahead and go with Rey Mysterio's team as the victors. I just don't really think that they're going to lose. In the last match here, we've got the WWE Championship, Randy Orton versus The Big Show. Dalton, I'll let you start us off.
I don't think this one's as tough as all the other matches. I think that the Authority is going to stay in control for a while now, so I'm going to have to go with Randy Orton, even though he sort of seems like an afterthought to Triple H and the rest of the Authority. I still think that he's going to keep the title and beat the Big Show, because I just don't see Big Show being WWE champion at this point.
I am right there with you. I'm going to keep it short, sweet, and simple. I'm going to go Randy Orton.
I'm going to jump on the same boat and say it's the Age of Orton.
The Age of Orton. All right. Well, we've got some interesting choices here. We will have to catch up with Dragon and give him out his choice, get his choices as well, and we will of course post everyone's predictions onto our Facebook page before the pay-per-view begins, so the world can see our pay-per-view predictions. And if anybody wants to make any last-minute changes before Sunday, but definitely Sunday we will post our predictions, and we'll go from there to see who becomes our first predictions champion, and then we can see how long we can hold on to that with crazy-ass booking. So I think we're just about done, but before we go, I do want to flip it over for Jason's segment for him to answer a question of the week. If someone gave him a question, if not, I have a question ready to ask him. So Jason, did we receive any questions this week?
I actually received 2, but what I was thinking was I would kind of put this into one question here. So,
go right ahead.
Well, the 2 questions were, what is your favorite tag team of all time, and what is the best rivalry of all time? So I'm just going to go ahead, put it together, and say, what is your favorite tag team rivalry of all time? And I'm going to ask everybody to answer this. Everybody get their opinion in this. So, Andrew, if you want to answer this first.
Oh, throwing it on me very quickly there. I see what you're doing. Favorite tag team rivalry of all time? That's a difficult decision. There have been a lot of really great tag team rivalries. Honestly, the first one that pops into my head in terms of greatest, first one that pops into my head is actually a triple threat rivalry. The Dudley Boys, the Hardy Boys, and Edge and Christian. And I think that was Dalton over there saying I just stole his.
Yeah, you stole mine too.
Oh, my
think
goodness.
We can all,
Okay, well, if that's it, here, I'll go for my second then, since I apparently stole everybody's. Jeez. I'm going to go ahead. This one I would put up there with it, but I would probably put maybe in second or third place without going back and really researching, reliving, and seeing some rivalries to get, just off the cusp of what I'm thinking of off the top of my head. Beer Money and Motor City Machine Guns. Great rivalry.
They had a pretty good best-of-5 series.
And they were tag teams for both of them for a long time. Like, if you go back, you can watch, Beer Money versus Motor City Machine Guns match, and then, go forward 2 years, and they're having, another match again. It wasn't just a one and done. They went on and off for, I think, 3 years. So, that automatically pretty good in my book. So I'm going to go Beer Money and Motor City Machine Guns.
Dalton, to you.
All right, my second one would probably be one that's more recent, but it would probably be Jericho versus D-Generation X, just because I loved killer show, and together they put on some pretty amusing matches together.
Okay. Well, my favorite rivalry was the Hardys and all them, but for second, I'm going to have to say DX versus the Spirit Squad, just because of the whole the comedy, and those skits they made with the whole McMahons and everything with them. And it also did bring Kenny Dykstra into the WWE and Dolph Ziggler, so I think that was a pretty big success. So I'm going to go with them.
All right.
Is there anything anybody would else like to add?
Oh, everybody disappeared here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of different tag team rivalries that I can remember. If I had to pick a favorite tag team, that would be Edge and Christian, and it's just because I'm the big Edge mark. But Ric Flair and Batista would be a pretty good second, just because they were a pretty good tag team when they faced the Dudleys in their series of matches and eventually won the tag titles.
I think honestly their tag team was short-lived, but another one that I did enjoy was the Sock and Rock. They had some comedy sketches that I did like too, and that was the Attitude Era, which I did enjoy.
Anything to add, Andrew?
Aha. I'll throw two more out there. I enjoyed the Rhodes Scholars and Team Hell No rivalry. Thought it was a little short-lived, but I enjoyed it while I was there.
Yeah.
And just speaking and getting in terms of the indies, which Dragon wants to remind us all to support indie wrestling. The Monster Factory, Team Flex Appeal against the Legion of Anarchy was great. I thought I think they went 3 months with the tag team titles, and that rivalry I really enjoyed. They had some really energetic, entertaining, good matchups.
Hello, everybody. I'm back.
He's back just in time because we were literally.
Who's your favorite tag team?
Favorite tag team.
Favorite tag team? Oh man, this is going deep.
Favorite tag team rivalry.
Is it favorite tag team rivalry? I'd have to say, of course, I'm going to have to go back in time and have to hit up with the Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, and the Dudley Boys.
That's a surprise.
That's literally what every one of us said.
What?
That was the fourth one that said that.
So wait, all you guys said that?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So
I'm done with all
two.
of you, right? Okay,
well,
pick our number two. Do we even have number twos for that? I mean,
I think mine was the Motor City Machine Guns and Beer Money.
I would have to say it's pretty tough because I can't. It's hard for me to think of tag team rivalries because, like, every time I think of it, I always go back to the originals. And I gotta say, Beer Money and the Machine Guns would have to be my next top one. But I'm gonna think about it for a second because I have one in mind. I just can't remember who.
Okay, well, while he's thinking about that, we were just finishing up that question, and we were going to sign off. I wanted to thank everybody who listened, or who I guess will listen, since we're recording it now, and then we'll post it. anyway, we want to thank anybody who listened. Send Jason your questions via Facebook or via email, and you can get both of those on our Facebook page. So pretty easy there. Or we will also have it on our podcast page as well. In case you guys were wondering, I'm Andrew. You can hit me up on Twitter at KybeTalk. That's right, we're going there. KybeTalk, all one word. Jason, is there a place that they can hit you up?
Well, I'm not the big Twitter person. I do like pictures, so I'm gonna go with Instagram. You can hit me up on Instagram. Give me a follow or give me a like on a picture or something at JasonF96.
That's great, and send him some great wrestling pictures that he can talk about on air. That's what we want.
Well, I gotta add in there. So, Jason, you pretty much admit that you don't like Twitter because you have to read. That's what you're saying. Because Instagram is for people who can't read, and Twitter is just Twitter.
Oh.
Ooh.
You're gonna get technical.
I
guess you can say that.
Throwing some hard words in there.
I'm slamming down. I'm laying down the gauntlet.
Dalton,
all right.
Is there someplace the masses can reach out to you?
I don't do Twitter or Instagram, so find me on Facebook at Dalton Hack.
Oh, throwing out the Facebook.
Oh man, revealing identities.
Does anybody have a MySpace? Because that's the only other way we could go back even further.
Well, if we go MySpace, I don't think anyone uses MySpace.
No, MySpace is for losers. MySpace is for 12-year-old girls and the grown men that stalk them. I mean, that's terrible. I didn't say that at all. Dragon, where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter at DragonGosei. Not that hard to find. You can also find me on Facebook at, oh man, you're going to hate my name, Charismatically Awesome. That's all you got to write down. You'll find me somewhere. I'm a.k.a. Jimmy Dunn. What did you say, Dawn? Was that a smart?
I said you were right. I really hate that name.
Oh yeah, I told you because I thought you might like it the most, though, Dalton. But I did. But before I go, I would like to say, after I got off the first time, I did put up the video for the Chris Hero return match. I actually watched it a few times beforehand, and I gotta say, it was a very good match. So if you guys want something good to watch, it's on our page right there.
And along with the video, I will be posting pictures of my top 5 wrestlers and the reason that they were ranked 1 through 5 this week. So check that out in case you missed it.
And also, later this week, I will be posting a video. It is Rey Mysterio unmasked CM Punk and Eddie Guerrero back in, I think, 2001. It's one of my favorite matches I've seen for a while. So
I was also going to say, guys, I think we should have a little vote here, and we should put like vintage matches up on our page. How would that make everyone feel? Everyone be down with that?
That would be great. Hey, if you want good professional wrestling questions, if you want to voice your opinion, if you want to see some great videos, or you want to see the top 5, or see what Jason picks for his answers to his questions, you can go to our Facebook page. Of course you can. And we will do that vote, and we'll get them vintage matches up there as well. I'm going to cut us off because now we're droning on.
Yeah.
And people are going to say, this is over an hour? I don't want to know. They're going to say, this is over an hour. This must be epic. So
I wouldn't even want to listen to it.
Remember,
I can't wait.
Remember, people, you want to like this page. You want to share this page. If you want to send us some nice little cookies, we can eat those cookies. You know, we're hungry over here. We're hungry men talking about wrestling. Wrestling and food is usually the best kind of combination you can think of.
I like it. I like the plug. Find our Facebook page. It is Beyond the Ring Podcast. If you look up Beyond the Ring Podcast, you will find our Facebook page. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a like, and we will keep providing you with this great content. I'm your host, Andrew, and I'm going to leave you guys all with a famous quote from Dalton. Don't talk about Beth Phoenix that way. I'll kill you. See you guys later.
And I think he killed us.